Okie doke. So, welcome everyone to making your Talis Aspire rollover a pain-free process. Now, for those of you who have been using Talis Aspire for a while, you may have been to one of these webinars before. We do one every single year because we know that rollover, although some of you I'm sure will have lots of experience of doing rollovers, rollover tends to be one of these things that you're only really doing once every year. So it's always good to just have a quick sort of refresher session, a revision session. So we tend to repeat this every year round about this time because it is rollover season for many of you. Like I said, we have a full hour in the calendar today, but I think we'll get through all of this in maybe about 30 minutes, and then we'll have loads of time. If you have any questions, if there's anything you would like us to revisit, we'll have lots of time to do that. We'll start with a quick introduction to what rollover actually is for those of you who have never been through the rollover process before. We'll then discuss the different ways in which you are able to roll over. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this within Aspire. We will give some thought to the decisions that you'll want to make before rolling over, to key considerations to make the whole process as smooth as it possibly can be for you. And then we will take a quick look at a demo of the different rollover methods. We'll then cover some suggested post-rollover tasks, so some things that you can do once rollover has been completed, again, just to make sure that everything is ready for the academic year coming. And then we will finish up with a rollover section on reviews and how reviews impact on rollover. And then we'll have time for questions. Please do, I should mention as well, my colleague Victoria is in the chat as well, and Victoria will be monitoring the chat as we go on. So please do, if there are any questions that come up, add them there, and we'll be more than happy to answer those for you. So just to begin with a quick introduction to what rollover actually is. Rollover is the process by which Talis Aspire institutions move their course materials, their reading lists, and any associated content with them from one academic term to the next. As we're going to go on to see, it doesn't necessarily just have to be academic year. Some people do only have one time period for the academic year, and it might be that you're on your 25-26 academic year at the moment and you're rolling over to 26-27. It may be that you have a bunch of different time periods running simultaneously, but rolling over is basically the process of making sure that those materials are kind of transitioned from one of those time periods to the next. And there are a couple of different ways that you're able to do that. So the first of those is bulk rollover, and for the vast majority of people on the call, bulk rollover will be sort of the thing that you are focused on. Bulk rollover is by far and away the more common way to do this, and for some of you, actually, if you've been using Talis Aspire for a while, you might remember that bulk rollover was once upon a time the only way that was available to roll over within the system. But bulk rollover is useful if you are an institution with a lot of reading lists to move over at once. You want to do it simultaneously. It allows you to make sure that everything is kind of one and done approach. You can roll over the entire tenancy and ensure consistency when you do that. It tends to be and again, we'll talk about this, but it tends to be that when you do a bulk rollover, that it takes a bit of time to process because we have to go through each of those different lists and all the items on the list and roll them over. But this is by far and away the most common way of rolling your Talis Aspire reading lists over. And the other method is targeted rollover. Oh, I can see I can still admit people into the chat. There we go. So targeted rollover in Talis Aspire reading lists. That allows a more granular control over what you're rolling over and when. It gives you that kind of flexibility to roll over at a time that suits you, and it makes it perfect for institutions that either have a smaller number of lists or have some lists that need a bit of a bespoke approach. So an example of when you might want to do a targeted rollover is you might have some courses that start or finish at different dates to most other courses. You might manage that with complex time periods, or you might just find it easier to roll them over at different times. So, for example, if you had the medical school and the medical school operates on slightly different dates to other schools, a targeted rollover might be the approach that you take for those reading lists. Again, we're going to look at the demo in a couple of minutes, but just so that you're aware, the All Lists report allows you to select the specific lists that need rolling over, and it'll allow you to, that report will also allow you to identify those lists that either have or have not been rolled over as of yet. So it ensures really that only the necessary materials are being rolled over, allowing you to kind of improve resource management as well. So those are your two main methods for rolling over: bulk rollover and targeted rollover, and which you use is really going to depend on what you need rollover to do at your institution. Now, if you're on this call today, you are probably one of those institutions that does rollover. Rollover is used by the vast majority of Talis Aspire institutions. There are a few that don't for their own reasons, but we always recommend that if you can, you are rolling over. And there's a couple of different reasons for that, a fair few reasons for that. It has benefits in terms of linking to your virtual learning environment. When you roll over to a new time period, that time period will have a unique identifier that the VLE's integration with Talis Aspire uses to help identify lists in a given time period. So that'll ensure that the right list is displayed in the right year for your LTI integrations. So I believe that in the days of LTI 1.1, this wasn't quite the case, but with LTI 1.3, that is now something that we support, and it just means that there's more accurate linking between Aspire and your VLE. So if you're not on the LTI 1.3 standard as of yet, if you're still on 1.1, we, as always, recommend that you upgrade that at your earliest convenience. And if you want any support with that, or you want to understand how that would impact your reading lists, just raise a support ticket with us and we'll be happy to advise. Rollover is also useful for acquisitions because new lists might contain updated student numbers, and when the current reading for the new year is confirmed, you can reset the list dashboard figures for item usage. So whether your student numbers are being updated on the lists themselves or on the hierarchy nodes, it's useful when you roll over to a new time period to have an up-to-date reflection of what you're expecting student numbers to be for that year. In that new time period. Digitizations as well. If you're using Talis Aspire copyright clearance, then you might wish to roll over in Talis Aspire so that digitization links to the right version of the list. And as most scans are only available for 12 months at a time, it means that you are able to kind of keep a track of what's available to who and when. And it's also just generally good practice for ensuring that all your lists are current and up to date. It's a good chance to build in a process to encourage academics and those who are responsible for lists to reflect on the resources that they're using and the currency of the list as well. We will talk in a moment about some of the pre-roll communications, the pre-rollover communications and the post-rollover communications that you might want to do to sort of encourage your academics to engage with the lists round about rollover. And then it's also useful for student appeals or resets. You might need to provide evidence that students have access to specific lists in specific time periods. So when a list is rolled over, it provides you with a kind of a basis for that. And in terms of analytics as well, keeping each time period's usage separate allows you to compare year to year uses and to understand changes that have happened over time or things that might need to be done to bring the list up to date. So like I mentioned, those are the benefits of rollover. We totally understand that there are some institutions with their reasons for not rolling over, but due to the many benefits that rollover brings, we do recommend that if you can, you are rolling over year to year. And if you are one of those institutions that's not using it and you'd like to talk about how rollover might start to fit in at your institution, again, more than happy to talk about that. So I've mentioned time periods a few times, and again, I think probably most people on the call will be familiar with this, but just to cover what time periods are and why we use them, using time periods helps us to keep your resource lists organized, accurate, and relevant over time. The way to get a new time period created is to submit a ticket to the support desk. Again, I have a feeling that many of you will have done this. We've had a lot of tickets coming in recently as we head up to rollover season, asking for new time periods to be put in place. If you haven't done that yet, it's as simple as just messaging us at support@talis.com and letting us know the name of your new time period, the date you want it to start, and the date that you want it to finish. And you can also let us know as well if you want that time period to go live right away, or if you would prefer that time period to be made active at a later date. We're happy to facilitate either of those. Having an up-to-date time period that reflects the current academic year it's reassuring for students to see that at the top of the screen. It allows them to know for sure that they are seeing the most up-to-date version of the list. And because the time periods themselves are in the library's control, it allows you to standardize the language that's used around that, so you are able to, have a common framework from year to year of what time periods appear to be. Like I mentioned, we have some who just have the year in there, 2025 to 2026, for example, and we have others who like to break it up to be a wee bit more granular. We have some who say semester 1, semester 2, summer term, summer semester, that sort of thing. So we can facilitate all of that. Time periods also help because you're telling us when you want them to begin and when to end. They help us to automate the start and end dates for your digitization requests. And you can really use time periods for the purposes that suit your institution. So you can have academic years, calendar years, semesters, terms. You can have them be course or department specific. So that's all something that we're able to facilitate for you. But like I say, any changes or any updates that you want to make to your time periods, all you need to do is message us. So, some decisions to make around rollover. The first one is, when are you going to roll over in reading lists? When is going to suit your institutional workflows? When is going to suit, when you have staff available to deal with that? Is it around the end of term? Is it going to tie in with your VLE rollover? Is it going to tie in with you getting new student numbers from your student information system? Really, we aim to be able to facilitate whatever date works for you, because rolling over is a sort of so what happens when you hit rollover is it joins a queue. Your work will be queued up and we'll work through it. Because of that, we just ask that you give us a heads up as to when you are going to be rolling over. Again, many of you have already done this. We've had a lot of tickets requesting specific dates. To the best of my knowledge, it has never been an issue that having too many people roll over at once and everything grinds to a halt. That's never actually happened. But we ask that you let us know when you're intending to roll over anyway, just so that we can make sure that everything is happening in an orderly way and that we can minimise the chance of that ever happening for you. So do raise a ticket with us if you haven't already, just to let us know when you're intending to roll over. We'd appreciate that. You'll want to decide as well if you're going to roll over to draft or published lists. Rolling over to draft will prompt your academics to update their lists, and it'll ensure that anything that's added is up to date, so they will have to actively go in and publish that list. However, the risk with doing that, of course, is that that depends on the academics engaging with the list after rollover has happened, and if they don't hit publish on those draft lists, the list won't be available to their students. Rolling over to published ensures that the new list is immediately available and can be accessed immediately by students, but then of course you'll need to ensure that all of those lists are updated before the start of term. So either approach has its own pros and cons. It will be up to you to decide what works for you. And again, if you're thinking about switching and you're not sure which to go with, we're happy to advise via your customer success calls or via the support desk. If you do choose to roll over to draft, you do have the option to bulk publish at a later date. So for example, on the first of semester, the 1st of September, excuse me, you could ensure that all rolled over lists are available for the start of term by going in and rolling over to published in bulk. You also have the option to keep the old lists active or to archive them. So you can, at that point of rolling over, archive the lists that they're rolling over from. If you do keep them live, they can always be archived at a later date if you'd like students to access lists for exams or resets, depending on the plan that you have for when you roll over. And you'll also want to send out communications to list publishers. Let your teaching staff or let anyone else with the list publisher role know what you're doing so that they know, that they know to expect this. They know when they should make any changes and when they should not make any changes. Some will inevitably, miss or won't respond to that, but it minimises any cleanup that you're going to have to do after the fact. So want to make sure that that process is as smooth as possible for you. So good communications are always essential to that. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more now in terms of things to do before rolling over. But just before I do that, I'm aware that that's quite a lot to go through in a relatively short period of time. So I'm just going to check the chat. If anyone's got any questions on anything I've said so far, please do ask them. I can see that Jackie said that you'll be rolling over on Tuesday, so hopefully this is timely for you. In the absence of any questions, I'm going to move on to some of your pre-rollover tasks. So this process has been provided to us many years ago by the University of Worcester, who kind of detailed for us exactly the steps that they take before and after rollover. So many thanks to Worcester. We've continued to use it all these years later because it's a really good system, and it ensures that rollover goes as smoothly as possible for them. So first thing you want to do is agree on a rollover date and a new time period, and get that scheduled with us by messaging us at support@talis.com. We'll be able to get that new time period in for you. We'll be able to add that rollover date to the calendar. And if we think there's likely to be any clashes, or if we think that maybe too many people are rolling over on the same day, we'll keep you posted on that. But like I say, we've never had an issue with that before. We just want to make sure that that continues to be the case for you. So do raise a support ticket with us to let us know. There we go. Then, before you roll over, you're going to want to import your new modules for the new academic year into Aspire via hierarchy upload if you have new modules to be added. It's often a good time to do this before rollover if you have the data, but we appreciate that that's not always possible, that you don't always have that data at the point you want to do rollover. If you don't have that data, don't worry, it can be done later. There are some universities who choose not to archive lists at the point of rollover for this very reason. So if you can do it, then it's a nice time to fit that into your schedule. If it's not possible, then don't worry about it, because you can always go back and correct that later on. Communications out to all staff, as I mentioned. We recommend that you do that well in advance of rollover, and then also the day before, just to make sure that you are catching as many people as possible. Have that final reminder go out. You're able to update your Talis Aspire homepage as well to inform anyone that visits that what's happening, what they can expect, what to do and what not to do on the day of rollover. You can explain what the rollover is, why the library are doing it, why it's going to benefit teaching staff. Ask them not to edit any lists during that window, and what they should do post rollover, whether that's review the list, whether it's go in and hit publish on them. And in terms of how to distribute them, mass emails, newsletters, meetings with staff, blog posts are also useful as well. And then, like I say, edit your Talis Aspire homepage message. That's also a good way to make sure that anyone that's landing on Aspire knows what's happening. And then your final pre-rollover task is to visit the All Lists report for the current time period and make a note of any lists that are still sitting in draft or have any unpublished changes. That's important because only the final published list, the one that students can see when they are visiting the list, will be rolled over. So if the list is in draft or the list has any unpublished changes, then that's not going to roll over, and those unpublished changes are not going to roll over. We'll be rolling over the visible version of the list that students can see. You can also visit the list copy actions report, and that's useful because some academics, some teaching staff will sometimes jump the gun and sort of want to get ahead of their work for next year and will have created, for example, a 26-27 reading list already. If they've done that and we roll everything over and that 26-27 list is still attached to the previous time period, we're going to end up after rollover with 4 different versions of the list because we'll have rolled over 2 versions of it. So that's a useful bit of housekeeping as well, just to make sure that we're minimising confusion and that we don't end up with any unnecessary lists rolled over. And once you've done all that, it will be time for rollover itself. I'm aware that I have said rollover so many times in this webinar that it is starting to lose all meaning, but I hope you can bear with me for a wee bit more because there's some more to go through. It's time for your rollover itself now. I'm going to show you a quick demo of that. I've got a couple of videos just to show you what bulk rollover looks like and what targeted rollover looks like, and I'll just kind of commentate as we go along, just to make sure that I've got plenty of time to talk you through it. You'll notice that my mouse moves very, very slowly throughout this entire demonstration, so normally it would be a bit quicker than this, but I'm going up here to admin and I'm going to choose request time period rollover, and you'll see the options that are available to me here. So we have our source time period, the time period that we are rolling over from, and then we've got our target time period, which is what we're rolling over to. You'll see there we've got those options that I mentioned. We can roll over the new lists into draft only, or we can roll them over to published. And then we can archive the lists as well at the point of rollover, which I'm not going to select there. We'll get a final kind of sense check that will ask you to take a look at everything that you've just put in. It will make you aware of what you can expect from rollover, that it might take a bit of time. And then we hit request rollover, and that request has gone through. You can see there that we're sitting in requested as the status for that rollover. And before too long, we'll see that update to complete. Basically, that's as complicated as it is. That's bulk rollover in a nutshell for you. That's what it's going to look like. It will take a little bit longer. You can see there, I think I've only rolled over 3 lists or something like that. So it'll take a bit longer for you on your end, but hopefully not by much. And yeah, if you've got any issues with that process, any questions about it, pop those in the chat just now. But that's bulk rollover in a nutshell. Like I say, it's a bit of a blunt instrument. It's rolling over everything at once. But yeah, it's not too complicated a process for you. Then we'll go on to targeted rollover, just to take a quick look at this. And you'll see here that instead of going to admin, I'm going to reports, and I'm going to the all lists report now. So we have all the different filter options here. And in this one, I'm going to filter just to select certain lists, I believe. Yeah, and I'm going to filter by lists with summer course in their title. I'll select all 3 of those because I just want to roll over the summer courses at the moment. I did say my mouse moved slowly. And I go to actions and rollover. And then it's very similar to what we've just seen for bulk rollover. We have the same sort of options available to us in a slightly different layout. Hit submit. And once again, you can see that we'll go from in progress to complete. And that'll tell us that those lists have been rolled over. That's the end of the video. I was going to wait for it to hit to say complete there, but I would have been waiting all day. So hopefully that all makes sense. It's not too tricky. 2 different ways to do it. Bulk upload, you're going in through your admin settings and you're doing targeted rollover via your all lists report. But that's as complicated as it gets. Any questions about that? Anything anyone would like clarified about the rollover process? As I always say, no is that's perfectly fine. So we'll move on to our post rollover tasks. So once rollover is over, again, this is come from the University of Worcester, so we thank them for that. Communications sent out to your teaching staff when it's complete with kind of a brief reminder of what they're expected to do next. If you publish a draft, that'll be, go in, review your list, make sure everything's updated, and hit publish. If it's published, you'll want to still be reminding them that they should go in and update their reading. Then you might want to have your academic liaison librarians offer training or any support to teaching staff on list management. You might want to recirculate any online guides or videos that you've prepared. I know that a lot of librarians have their own in-house training materials that they use for their teaching staff. So if you have that, it's a really good idea to reach out to them and just remind them where that is. And we are aware that some teaching staff will probably, this might be the only time of year that they actually use Aspire, they actually engage with the reading list. So it's always a good idea just to recirculate any guidance that you have on that so that they know where it is. You can use this time as well to check modules on the registry to confirm that all the modules that you've rolled over are running in the new academic year. You can archive or update any modules that are no longer running, or lists with no specific content can be published immediately. So you're able to, it's a good opportunity to do that as well. And then you can easily, in exactly the same way that you saw us do for the targeted rollover there, you can use the all list report to check which lists have been published and which are in draft. So if you have rolled over to draft and you are wanting your academics to go in and hit publish on them, you can monitor that through the all list report over time. You can filter by draft and you can filter by the time period to see what's been moved to published and what hasn't. But you may want to just monitor the engagement with that over the coming weeks to make sure that everything is live and students can see everything. And once you've done all that, that's your rollover process in a nutshell. Basically, that's you complete with that. Just a couple of notes on how rollover works with reviews. We do advise you to clear your reviews before you roll over. You'll want to review the lists for the next academic year, not last year's. So we recommend that you have cleared those out before that rollover process happens. If you choose to archive lists at the point of rollover, if that list that you're trying to archive has an open review, the list won't be archived and the review for that list will remain open. So particularly with reviews, it's a really good idea to just make sure you're doing that housekeeping before the rollover process happens, so that when you roll over, it's a clean break and that there's nothing kind of left hovering around after that. If you're archiving lists outside of rollover, the reviews will be archived when they are clicked into. So if you don't archive your 24 or 25 lists, any open reviews can be continued, and rollover is not going to trigger a review until the academic republishes the list if they choose to. That's also true even when you have forced review enabled. So any questions at all on rollover or reviews, do just add that into the chat. Your next steps in terms of if you're here today and you haven't arranged the rollover date with us, please just send us that message to support@talis.com. We'll add it into the calendar for you, or if we already have a few people signed up for that date, we might just suggest an alternative date for you. But please do let us know when that will be. Let us know if you need your new time period set up and if you want that to be active. And we have loads of support articles on rollover at support.talis.com. If you have any issues, if you just want to read in a wee bit more detail about that, you can visit the support site and we will be more than happy to kind of answer any further questions that you have as well. Now, you might be wondering about this point, what about digitizations? What if you are using copyright clearance or the DCS integration? How does that affect rollover? So we will tell you about that. It just won't be today. We're going to tell you about that in a few weeks. And the reason we kind of I think it was last year we split these webinars up into two, so that it wasn't one bumper session. It's just because we know that digitization rollovers can sometimes do with a bit more time, and that kind of it prompts a few more questions. So we want to make sure that we've got the dedicated time to talk about that. So you can join us for that on Wednesday, the 20th of May, at 2 o'clock. I believe Victoria might have the link, and if she does, if you can, oh, there we go, fantastic. Thank you very much, Victoria. That is now in the chat for you, so please do join us then if copyright clearance or digitization rollover is something that you would like to learn more about, and we'll go into more detail at that point. And that is the that is the rollover webinar. Like I said, I thought it would only take about 30 minutes, and there we go, bang on. So, any questions at all on anything that we've looked? I can see that Isabella put a question in the chat. Let me take a quick look at that. If we make large changes to our hierarchy, what should we be mindful of during rollover? Now, Isabella, I know that in our most recent customer success call, we had a bit of a chat about your hierarchy, and we went through that in quite a bit of detail. How about following the session, I reach out to you just to understand exactly what changes have happened since then, and if there's anything that we need to be mindful of with that. Would that work for you? I think that might be a case where it'd be advisable for us just to have a chat about that in a wee bit more detail. Oh, I can see your hand up. Can I? How do I? There we go. I think I should have allowed you to unmute yourself, Isabella. Or
I
if
was
you
just trying to give you a thumbs up there. Sorry.
Oh, no worries at all.
Yes,
They put
that
the
we
hand
could.
right next to the
I'll send you a
reactions.
message. Yeah, wrong gesture.
That's absolutely fine. No worries at all. Yeah, it's a bit funny that they put the hand up right next to the reactions. So yeah, no worries at all. Any other questions from anyone? And if you would rather not type in the chat, you can raise your hand, and I can let you unmute. I've just learned how to do that, so that's useful. Well, if there are no further questions, I think we can end the webinar there. I hope that was useful for you. I'm aware that we went through that at a fair old pace, but the recording will be there if you want to use it. We've got plenty of support articles on the support site as well. If you have any questions, we are always happy to help. We understand that because rollover is something that only happens once a year, it can sometimes do with just a bit of a refresh of how everything works. So any questions whatsoever, let us know. And we'll be more than happy to help. But if not, I hope that was useful for you. I will let you go back to enjoy the rest of this sunny afternoon. And yeah, thank you all very much for joining us today.